Hi, how's it in the name of Christ? How you doing? It's your girl, Pancake, Karabo. I hope you're good, I hope you're peachy, I hope you're Stella, and I hope you're in a neat little bunch. If you're not, welcome to the party. Yes, that's just not the story of our lives. Okay, so as you can tell, it is Thursday, the 26th of September, 2024. At 13:48. Is time just gonna keep going there? I switched off the internet, so I hope this thing is just gonna keep recording. Sorry, it's just gonna keep the time, even though there's no internet. I don't know, we'll see. It's presently 13:50, so thing is, when the internet is on, there's just too much distraction. Anyway, look, I like this timestamp. As you can see, my face is a little bit flat. Okay, so I hope you're good, I hope you're peachy, I hope you're Stella, and I hope you're in a neat little bunch. Have I said that? Or it's animated for Jesus, depending really on what you're looking at. At this particular juncture, it all depends. Ooh, yeah, already. Please, that is so windy. Anyway, I'm gonna blow my nose. As you can see there in my timestamp, I've written, this is not gonna end well for dark folk. It's not gonna end well for dark folk. It's just not gonna end well. Yeah, I'm sorry, did I gross you out? I apologize, or not. It's just that my life is hard, so I don't have decorum, and that's okay. Or maybe not, I don't know. Okay, where shall we commence? I'm flat. I'm under a severity of spiritual attack, and we're gonna discuss that. I just need to gauge from what angle to tackle this particular issue. After all, it is quite vehement, but we are tackling. Okay, look, this is, I'm tired. I am really very exhausted. We're not sure how long this is gonna continue for, but you know, whatever. Anyway, the time is adjusted, but that's only because I made it adjust. Whatever, it's not gonna adjust, but this is the actual day. If the time does not adjust, it's fine. I apologize for my white cast sunscreen. That's just gonna be a thing. My whole body is flat. I'm under a severity of spiritual war, and we're gonna talk about that. We are gonna talk about that. I don't even know from what angle to tackle this, but tackle it I must, okay? Tackle it I absolutely must. This thing does not adjust the time, for crying out loud. I don't know, I wanted it to just keep changing the time as I keep talking, but it's not quite giving, but it's okay. Oh, look at that. The date stamp is what's important. Why? Because by the time this content goes up, I will have spoken and stuff very potentially may have come to pass, etc. Whatever. Yeah, stuff may have come to pass. And it'll be evidenced that God had mercy and stuff. Okay, listen. Alright. Okay, where do I commence? Like, I really do apologize. This is not gonna end well. I'm so spiritually attacked, it's not even funny. Okay, I don't even know where to tackle this from. Where shall we start? Pity, yes. Let us talk about pity. God, please give me strength. I need strength. Okay? I need strength. People with a messianic complex, we need to talk. We understand that I have nobody watching my content. As a result, people presently pity me. The few that do watch my content. I only have like 2 or 3 across all of my channels. Horrendous surveillance of my content. How can I describe? Thank God for coffee. So a tea, because there's no more coffee left until further notice. Anyway, alright. Okay, so my audience, right? Let's discuss my audience. Let's have a conversation with my audience. So you can understand who's watching me. I keep saying this, but I will highlight it time and time again. I am not doing this work for filthy occult practitioners that will never repent. However, it is going to function as a gavel on the head of a judgment, a finality, an exquisite and a robust one at that for them who do this, right? I told you guys that this here is not a going concern. People are aware of it, but you know, they're just kind of in denial. So my audience is made up of psychopaths and every so often 1 or 2 random people. Okay, let me explain the psychology of the people that watch me. Like, my content presently is only being recommended to my subscribers of which every so often just don't care to, even though the content is being recommended to them, watch. What tends to cause people, unfortunately, it's behavioral psychology. What makes people watch you is the perception that you are watch-worthy, and a perception has been created that I'm not watch-worthy. What makes people believe that you are watch-worthy is how many people watch you. So when a person keeps uploading content and they've got like 0 views, 0 views, 0 views, 0 views, 1, 2, 5 views, and then 0, 0, 0, 0, eventually some of your initial supporters will just walk away from you because apparently there's nothing worth writing home about. It's an unfortunate way of thinking that, because for Christians in particular, because we know that the world hates disciples, we keep getting persecuted, we keep getting silenced, like it's just what happens with us. So Christians should be more drawn to my content precisely because I'm so badly shadow banned, and precisely because I am so strangely unwatched, but it's not gonna happen. They are drawn, everybody, including me, sometimes I have to exercise self-control over it, to people who are being viewed already, meaning that the persecuted church don't stand a chance in the climate of all this crazy. And if at all the Lord does not rescue us from this crazy, then I guess there's something else that he's doing. Yeah. So even though I may get 1 or 2 sober minds listening to me every 2 weeks, largely I am being watched by demonic miscreants, psychopaths of a prolific proportion, Satanists from the abyss, devil worshipping, listen, diapered babies that belong to the devil, that are in dire need of being coddled and cajoled and comforted by evil, are individuals that are watching me largely for the better majority. If at all a person is clicking on my content and watching all the way to the end, chances are it's some nefarious beast. It is some evil man or some evil woman. It's members of my family, it's former friends, it's complete strangers online that have decided that they're going to cast spells on a completely innocent woman. That's my audience prior to the rapture, okay? And the intention is to cause me to walk away from God, commit suicide. It's just a plethora of stuff that they hope to achieve. And I am out here. Now I've got a date stamp. Look at that, right? Really just trying to prove a particular very poignant point that we're just going to keep trying to prove. Alright, I'm just going to switch off my Wi-Fi because it doesn't make any difference what time, like this thing, the date stamp there, it's just going to keep saying that it's 13:52 even though time is progressing, so it's worthless, but it's important that the date is there. Yeah, my audience is diabolical, largely, and it's not even an audience at all. How they watch my content is the same way that a grown woman or a grown man picks their nose. Yeah, they watch my content like the way that you would pick a nose. Indeed, because you know that it's generally societally unacceptable to just be walking around with your finger in your nose and just scratching and taking out boogers, you hide. Yeah, you basically conceal yourself in a corner, and then you start to pick and dig and then you look at the snot and every so often maybe even eat it. But you would never let people watch you doing that. You would never just pick a nose in the middle of a conversation in a group of people. You would never just pick your nose and bring out the slimy little sticky thing in a meeting. Like, you wouldn't, okay? You would act like you're the kind of person to grab tissue or toilet paper and be nice and cordial and decent and blow your nose and be like, guys, I'm sorry, I apologize. And then put the little thing on the side there and move on. You act, long story short, like you're more decent than you are. But bottom line is you're gross, you're disgusting, you eat snot, and you have no respect for the fact that mankind innovated tissue for the very purpose of dealing with all the boogers inside your nose. There are people who have got some pretty horrific bad habits. Yeah. There are people who have some heinous, menacing, really treacherous bad habits that they have no interest in kicking. And so they invest in those habits, but because they're so terrible and the whole world is going to judge them for these bad habits, they conceal themselves in the corner. So my audience is made up of nose pickers. They watch my content like picking a nose. They act like they're not really trying to see what's going on with me, but they've made themselves police officers. They surveil my content and they keep crossing their fingers hoping nobody is coming for me. Now, because a person that picks a nose generally knows that such activity is just not okay, there's no decorum in it. What are you to? Yeah, because they generally have that knowledge, they have that understanding, they tend to sort of kind of wish that they weren't nose pickers. They wish that they did not have this impulse, to just dig in there and then look at it and then just kind of put it in their mouth. They wish they were better. They wish they could exercise enough self-control to not disappear in corners and do a filthy thing, but they're not. And so because they're not that thing, unfortunately, misery loves company. Wicked men and women. Here's a secret. They want everyone to be like them. Yeah, they want everyone to be like them. Because you see, if enough people can join the horde, the canyonic, abysmal, dark, just filthy, menacing, just general way of life, then they get to comfort themselves with the fact that, look, everybody's doing it. And even though it's not right, I wish life was better. I wish we all could just do differently. Bottom line is, if I can get 10 more people doing what I'm doing, then I get to feel like what I'm doing is acceptable. So because they want everybody to be like them, they then invest oh so severely in exquisite sabotage of everybody that is happily just using tissue or like toilet paper to blow noses, because that's what decorum is about. That's what that stuff has been innovated to do, and it's relatively cheap. It's inexpensive, so there's no need for us to be dealing with all that green stuff on your fingernails, gross, that you're also going to put in your mouth. Just do better. Long story short, it's free to be moral. It's frankly easier on the spirit to be moral, and yet they're just having such a striving with it. They just can't. It is written in God's word that, "Come to me, all of you who labor and are heavily laden, and I will give you rest. Take my burden, my yoke upon take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light." Right? Long story short, people underestimate just how easy it is to just be better than that. They underestimate it because the flesh, we are born dead in trespasses and sins, and in sins did our parents conceive us. We've got a congenital birth defect from the get-go. It's pretty much over before it starts. And so for those reasons, even though it's just so much easier and lighter to your soul to just not be a creep, we choose to be creeps anyway. Right? Because we are slaves to sin. That's what's good. So it's harder for them to choose to do what is right, even though doing what is right is easier on the heart. The burden is light. Have you ever heard of the saying, a clear conscience? Yeah. It is clear, and so therefore it's neat. The room is refreshed. Oxygen is coursing through it. People can breathe in that room, because nobody is out here suffering from blood guilt. The weight of sin on the shoulders is exorbitant. These individuals, therefore, carrying this chunky big bag on their backs that is sin, and all this guilt that they are walking around with them being in that general daily menacing disposition, they, instead of exercise self-control over their insanity, would much rather bring everybody else down to their level. Despite the fact that God's yoke is easy and his burden is light, it's just better to be moral. It's just better to not bewitch all of South Africa. It's just better to not be a freak. It's just better to not be a creep. And they know that. It's easier to walk, for instance, take when you're busy drinking and driving, okay? Back in the day when I used to partay, back in the day before I was extracted out of the planet and given eternal life. Back in the day before I was anything worth the while to write home about. When I was still just a miscreant like everybody else. Long story short, back in the day when I also had propensities to pick my nose and eat it. In other words, I just did strange stuff in corners and that was just not okay. I used to drink alcohol. I was a young, upcoming 20-something, and I used to partay. And upon partying, I would drink, having gone to the party with my vehicle. And because I was a partayer, that every so often would drink beyond the alcohol limit of the country, I would essentially utilize roads going back home from the party that were conspicuous and dingy and highly unlikely to have metro police all up in that business. And if at all I saw a roadblock coming, man oh man, how I would meander, U-turn, do all different kinds of things, because, you know, I knew that I was drunk. So, being a little drunken driver, I eluded the popo by actively looking out for them, putting my ear on the ground and ascertaining that they're not there. However, I wasn't drunk 24 hours a day. It tended to be just on weekends, and even then maybe every second weekend. So I did have my days of driving around like I'm walking on sunshine, like I'm little Miss Daisy driving in the climate of the popo, even smiling and staring into their eyes when I was completely sober, like on my way to work, roadblocks in the morning, or on my way from work, roadblocks in the evening or late afternoon, because I was sober and my license disc was, timely. It was not expired. It was valid. My license disc was valid. I was sober. All my parking tickets were paid. Because I basically was just this like law-abiding citizen, at least to the face, to the forefront, to the view. I was actually smiling at roadblocks, driving by, acting as if though I'm awesome or something. Because it's just so much easier to be a good girl. It's just so much easier to be a good guy. It's just so much easier to not have to run away from the police, to be scared from them, to drive into a garage, and if there's a cop car right there, go in, buy a donut, and get out and get in your car and go home without shuffling around in your body. Yeah, there's just so much ease when you are law-abiding. Because then you get to be in the climate or the presence of authority figures and smile at them. And even wave or stare at them, hoping that they stop you so you can prove that your driver's license is valid, that your license disc is valid, that you are sober, and that you have no parking tickets. You have no tickets at all for speeding, nothing. You're just this stellar chick. It's so much easier to not be scared of authority. Another example, like back in the crazy day when I out here would allow parking tickets to just pile and pile and pile on my body, yo. Not parking, what you might call this, like speed tickets, because before I came to Christ, I was low-key mentally ill. I used to drive like a mad woman. I like properly, you know, God saved me, hallelujah. He really rescued me, because I probably would have died from a car accident. I was always so late, and so therefore impatient, that I could never drive at normal speeds. I don't know how many robots I just like flew right past. Even though the robot had just turned red, I would like drive as soon as I would see it go yellow or amber. Because I'm not trying to wait for no robot. I was so impatient driving that my foot would be tapping on my accelerator when I was at the robot. Because it's like, why am I even waiting? Like, I gotta go. And the reason why that was the case is because, like I said, I was always late. I was always late for work. I've never been a morning person. Did I make mention of that? I struggle with the day. So this here season of suffering is actually quite ideal because I can work and be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and, you know, sparkly later on in the day without anybody telling me that you are supposed to be here by 8 a.m. Whoa, like, what is that time? Like, why does nobody realize that people are supposed to still be sleeping at 8 a.m.? I have a problem with mornings. I have an issue. My life starts at 2 p.m. I'm just saying. Like, at what time I started to record this video. My heart starts beating at 2 p.m. I'm officially awake at like 2 p.m. I'm just okay at 2 p.m. like going forward. And that becomes like a thing until like 7:30 the next morning. That's just the way I am. I've been wired that way. I is what they call nocturnal. It's never been different. Like, I tried. So, I mean, it's ideal that God ripped me out of corporate South Africa, isn't it? Because I was just never going to be okay. Anyway, whatever. So, this woman whose life only starts at 2 p.m. every single day, only gets juiced from that time, therefore struggled to make, like, I don't know, 8 a.m. in the morning. Like, who does that? Ugh. I struggled to do the whole 8 a.m. thing, even 9 a.m. MTN was ideal because it enabled us to have flexi hours. So sometimes I'd traipse into the office, trudging in, waltzing in, dragging my inebriated body with all the sorrow of sleep that is still in me at like 10 a.m. in the morning, and be like morning colleagues, the colleagues of which have been there since, I don't know, 6:30. Like we had this ridiculous colleague that would be in the office at 6:30. You need a cat, you need a dog, and you need a husband. That's what's good. Anyway, whatever. So these people that had been in the office pretty much all night long, because that's what 8 a.m. is for me. It's night time. So these people that had been in the office all night long, when I woke up in my tantamount of morning, they'd be looking at me like, whoa, Karabo's here at like 10 o'clock in the morning. That was the best I could do. And because MTN allowed for those kind of flexible hours, it was okay. It was okay because I would leave anyway at around 7 p.m. in the evening to go home. So nobody really gave me too much grief for coming in at 9:30, 10. But me trudging in at that time is precisely because, like I said, I'm only fully alive from like about 1:30, 2 p.m. in the afternoon. And the reason why, therefore, I amassed for myself quite the plethora of speeding tickets was for this purpose. I could never be on time for anything, so I was always just kind of rushing through traffic. I was always just rushing through traffic, and there are these cameras that all over Hendrik Potgieter, all over some strange street, and you don't even know why that's a thing. They be out here taking photos of you, 60 kilometers per hour zone. Who does that, right? That's what I thought back before I got born again. Who comes up with a 60 kilometer zone? I mean, that is so slow. Anyway, whatever. So I'd be out driving at 80 kilometers, 100 kilometers in the zone, and smile, you're on candid camera. And I amassed for myself these tickets pretty much from the time that I had a vehicle up until I got born again. And because I was not the most honest of citizens, and because I also had bills to pay, I got a life, please, like, relax. I know when I would get a ticket, I'd be like, ticket schmick it, ticket schmick it, like, ticket schmick it, don't nobody care, ticket schmick it. Yeah, but there comes a time when your ticket schmickets, as you are piling them up, when they amass to some heavy amounts, you know what I mean? And there also comes a time when some JMPD individuals be out here road blocking with some truck van that has got a speed point and a cashier and a point of sales, and basically like a place where you can pay now or get inside some prison robes. Pay now or be in a holding cell for the day. Pay now or forget about going to work today because you're coming with us. Yeah, that became a thing. Wow. So I remember times and seasons when I would see these JMPD guys in the morning with me having these like tickets that I knew I had. If you don't pay a ticket within a certain amount of time, you're frankly arrestable. Until such time that you can pay these tickets, you will be held in a jail cell of sorts. And I was like, I can't be affording no mugshot, no fingerprints, and no system, and especially no criminal record. So this is what happened with the Cran-K. I would dodge the circumstance. I would dilly-dally around all different kinds of inroads to run away from the metro popo, and so therefore arrive even later than I already was going to arrive at whatever destination I was going to, because I spent my life detouring all of South Africa just to avoid the JMPD. One fateful morning, however, it was really quite the treachery. One fateful morning, there we go, amen, that's tasty. I couldn't run because the JMPD were on a road that had no inroads. There was somewhere where I could not do a UE. There was somewhere where I did not spot them well in advance sufficiently enough to do a U-turn. And I was also so late for work that I told myself, I'm gonna ride this out. I'm just going to stay on this road and hope that they don't stop me. Well, sad and unfortunate was me. They did stop me. And my tickets as at that date that were payable on the spot, because I still owed a lot more, right, came up to like 3,500 rands. Yeah, but you see, because the Lord has always been with me even before I came to know him, that just so happened to be on payday. And it was one of those seasons in my life when I was living hand to mouth. So I can't afford to just lose 3,500 rands. Like, I've got bills to pay. I got petrol. I got all this that like proper. I don't have spare change. I can't even buy shoes after I pay all my debts. I'm just basically going to a 9 to 5 every day to break even. So why are you taking 3,500 rands from me? But you see, I amassed it for myself. Thankfully, however, it happened on payday. And so because it happened on payday, I out here be getting escorted into some white truck here, JMPD, Johannesburg Metro Police Department, that are the traffic popo of South Africa, of Johannesburg in particular. Anyway, I'm out here getting carried, you know, by some po people into some white truck that had like such a sophisticated point of sales system. I was like, what are you running here at Checkers? Is this the Pick and Pay? Is this like a Woolies or something? Is this Mr. Price home? Because I ain't never seen so many telling points inside a van. Wow. I've seen life, okay? So here is this like truck that has got a cashier. They can take cash. They can also take a speed point, like a card. Honey, you can pay with any means. A credit card, check card, we take it all. Visa, MasterCard, American Express, we got you. But if you don't, buy our goods. I.E. buy the tickets that you amassed for yourself. You're going to spend the morning in jail. And your bail is going to be that much more lofty, coupled with the fact that you're going to have like a criminal record. We're going to put you in the system. We're going to take your fingerprints and all that jazz. Because people got to be processed when they find themselves in a jail cell, a holding cell. So I was basically facing loss of everything, like career and everything. Because who in the world is about to hire anyone with a criminal record? Who? Okay. You can get rid of a credit record, but you can't get rid of a criminal record. Like, it's just gonna stick. Anywho, any crazy how? I get inside this little Woolworths, but for the police. This little Checkers, this little ShopRite, to buy my tickets, to pay for my debts. They send me into this joint, and I spend a 3,500 rand that I just did not have. Okay. They didn't let me go, and the police lady that was out here with the speed point was like, bye ma'am. You could tell so spitefully that she had it in for me, and she just felt really good that I had to part ways with all that dough. Anyway, whatever. That was the one fateful time when the cops stopped me. They stopped a sister girl, very unfortunately, and I had to pay for my crimes right there on the spot. Largely, however, before then, I was always just successfully running. I would dodge them, I would take U-turns, I would take detours and travel all of South Africa just to go to work because I didn't want to pay no tickets. But after paying those tickets by force on the 25th of a month, because it was on payday, I remember. Let's say 25th of November for the sake of just hooking up a date. On the 25th of November of that particular year, for the first time in my life, I did what I used to think was a crazy thing for people to do. I paid a traffic fine. I couldn't understand people who were responsible upon being khatlad, who actually went out of their way to go to the licensing department and pay. I was like, who does that? Like, well, no, you're not going to take my money. Yeah, but Karabo, you just took the law for granted. Like, what's wrong? Anyway, I pay these like fines and whatnot. It is what it is. Whatever, we're gonna have to deal. I pay these crazy fines, and then for the first time in my life, I had the luxury of driving through the popo and checkpoints and all that jazz. Comfortable that, last week they caught me and I had to pay 3,500, so I'm clear at least for now. And it just felt so good. It felt so good to drive in the streets of Johannesburg without freaking out when I saw orange, white, black, blue, and the people all up in those cars. It just felt so good. Like, yo, it felt so, like, I enjoyed. Like, initially when I would drive by them, I'd freak out until I'd remember, oh, they put me inside a Woolies to pay for some groceries, otherwise known as parking tickets. So therefore, there's no need to be scared. Kaputuloha. That's what clemency does for you. That's what amnesty, that's what pardoning for a crime does for you. That's what being let go does. That's what when you basically make amends achieves. It loosens your bra straps and lets them hang. It loosens a corset and lets you breathe. It gives you leg room. It makes you happy to walk in the climate of authority. It makes you a happy chappy, you guys. That even though initially you were always just kind of scared, you know, in the climate of them authority figures, bottom line is there's no need to be scared anymore because literally paid in full. I'm pressed to pee. I can't be sitting here just wiggling around like a little snake in the grass, much like some of you guys, indefinitely without bursting a bladder or two. So we're gonna have to see you in a minute. Anywho, I'm back. And yes, I am relieved. Not that that's information or details that you need to know. Wonderful. Anyway, once I paid for the first time ever in my life, kankani, parking tickets, not parking, man, speeding tickets, basically fines. Once I paid my fines for the first time ever, being forced and everything to pay them on payday, I think maybe that's the reason why they actually did a roadblock on payday, because they knew that we'd be able to pay so as to not populate their little prisons. But anyway, whatever, so here it is that I've paid my fines, and yeah, for the first time in my life, I got to enjoy the glories of being a law-abiding citizen, a fine-paying citizen, a person that is in the clear, a person that is no longer in the red, but it's all green now. I was tapering close to amber though, because some other ones of the fines that I owed were starting to beep amber, because of the fact that I did not pay all of them, just those that were outside of the due date by which you must pay for traffic fines, because I just kept amassing them for myself. If at all I was petitioned to pay for all of my fines, I would have paid like maybe 10,000 rands or something, but I paid only 3,500 as at that date. And y'all, if I tell you the loosening of the corset around my waist, it was wonderful. Now I was out here driving around, and whenever I would see the JMPD, I'd be like, hey, what's up? How you doing, guys? I'm good. Stop me and check. You're not gonna find anything. Because the other day, y'all stopped me and made me enter your little mobile Woolies to buy your groceries. And I'm so glad that I'm in the clear now, so we can even talk about the sun that's shining and the weather that is sweet. Basically just making small talk with the popo now because you can. When you're not scared, you know. You be out here having small talk with the popo instead of shuffling around in your brain trying to figure out what excuse you're gonna give them. For why under heaven you've got these heavy fines all up in your grill. Thankfully, I've never been stopped. That's not quite the glory of most. Drinking and driving. That never happened, and for that I attribute to God because he had grace. At some point, if I had continued drinking and driving, the grace was going to pass away. The grace was going to get extincted, and with no more grace all up in my grill, I then would have had a criminal record that would have ruined my life forever. So thank God I stopped drinking, right? Even before I came to Christ. So now, the only time that I got stopped for in the night, coming back from like the club or whatever, was when I was not drinking. I got stopped a few times by the JMPD, and again, I was proud of myself. Like after stopping drinking alcohol, I became like a designated driver for everybody, right? I was the one that was always driving if at all we were going somewhere, because I was always the sober person. And so whenever I would get stopped by the JMPD in a roadblock at like 2 a.m. in the morning coming back from the club, I was so happy to park. I was so glad to park. They'd be like, whoa, 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 whoa. And I'd be out here. I didn't dodge them. I would see them down on Friedman Drive with their little hazarding vehicles. That ugly orange, because it looks ugly when you are in the wrong. Orange, white, blue, black car. Yeah, I think it's ugly. It starts to become like a regular car. That's not so ugly. When you're cool, yeah, there was a time when I would be doing U-turns and detours and whatnot because I saw them in the distance. This time around, I'd be like, this is the route home. This is the direction home. This is the closest route home. This is the shortest distance. I'm not about to spend an extra $20 on petrol just because I detoured, okay? we're not doing it. Yeah. But guess what? I don't have to. So I'm just gonna drive. And then they'd be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. They'd be out just stopping me. And I'd be like, hello, ninjani ni grand shampulai mukatweni gumnanderi kwatwa. Yeah. And sometimes, just by opening my window, it'd be like, it's fine, go. Because, you know, the whiff of a person that's been drinking alcohol, mavuli window, you can smell it. Sometimes just by me virtue of like, shh, down. Be like, okay, hump. I enjoyed that so much. There was so much freedom in law abidingness. There was so much freedom in being on the right side of life. There was so much freedom in being in right standing with the government. There was just so much freedom in being a law-abiding citizen. When I stopped drinking alcohol, the JMPD could stop me at 3, 4, 1 a.m., 12 in the morning, 11. When other people my age be out here ducking them like some bullets. Yeah, I'm out here driving right through them. Because when you are doing things right, you ain't scared of no God. You ain't scared of no human beings. You are not scared. Your conscience is what is called clear. Okay? Anyway, so the freedom that I got after paying my tickets made me realize that Karabo, this little fugitive personality you got going down, where you always be out here running away from some stuff, it's not worth it. I made this discovery even before I got born again concerning traffic fines. The day when they forced me to pay them, the following weeks thereafter and months, there was just so much freedom around the police, around the JMPD in particular. There was so much freedom around the popo, and it felt so good. You know that I would now. It's so good. It's real good. I'm old. I got you. Bing gong dim bing boom bing. Ow! It just felt so good. It just like proper. It just felt so like come to me, all of you who labor and are heavily laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. It's just so easy to be on the right. It's so much easier, but it takes so much more to get there. Because the human heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. We are sinners, born dead in trespasses and sins, and in sins did our parents conceive us. There is no one who does good, no, not one, for all of us have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. And so, since our most righteous works are like filthy rags, it's over before it starts. We are done for. We're doomed. From the get-go, congenital defect. We have got a gangrene spreading in our bones. And it's just so hard to seek out medical attention. It is so hard to seek out some kind of a remission for that cancer, even though it's in one's best interest to do so. Once you're nicely healed, you realize that it's just so much better to not be sick all the time. And you nkongori picking randos, nyagula la hlanya le di satanists, litsubile matekwan. You are rubbish. And it can't be easy to always just be running from the cops. Take it from me, I would know. You and your detours and your U-turns and your T-junctions. All this effort that you are investing in to escape the law. One day they're gonna catch you in a traffic jam that you can't get out of. And just in the same way that I never got caught drinking and driving before, and I was wrong. God gave me grace to make sure that I get to a point where I stop drinking alcohol and I become the responsible driver sufficiently enough for even my friends to make me a designated driver. The Lord gave me time. He did not let me get taken away in Jefela by the tsunami. First time I drink and drive, it's over. No, he gave me time. I never hit anybody. I never got into an accident. And the last time, how it is that I even stopped drinking was because I nearly killed someone. I nearly killed myself, and I also nearly killed my, at the time, boyfriend. So this is what's good, right? You all need to understand this is what's up, this is what's down, this is what's left, and this is what's right. My white car sunscreen. Is it just not flashing you like a bad man in the park? Anyway, when I got born again, I read the Bible, of course. That became like a daily thing. I learned Christ. And I remember one time listening to, I think either I was reading the Bible or I was listening to a sermon. I forgot. And I heard the scripture that says, "Oh no man nothing except love." The Bible said, "Oh no man nothing except love." Don't owe a person anything except love. And that scripture hit me like a ton of bricks, like a well of water. Like, it just hit me so hard that I realized that, okay, Karabo, you need to close all your accounts, okay? Where you owe some people some stuff, you must close them. I used to be on revolving credit like no man's business. I used to owe everything and everyone. The first time, I remember I wanted to build a credit record for myself so that I could one day finally buy a car. And the first account that I took out was at Queen's Park, the clothing store, because I wanted to buy clothes for work, because I now had a job, a 9 to 5. And my mom recommended that I open a Queen's Park account because that's where they have clothes. That's where they have clothes. That's where they have clothes for work. I don't know why she chose Queen's Park versus any other store, but anyway, Queen's Park, like, right? Y'all would be thinking that probably like Queen's Park for a 20-year-old is just kind of like oldie, you know? For a 20-year-old, Queen's Park is like a little mature. It's a bit of an older woman shop. But my mom was like, open an account at Queen's Park. And I opened an account at Queen's Park to buy clothes from there for work. And it was only with 3,000 rands credit on it. But it took me like 4 years to finally close that account. It took me 4 years because I would pay it every month and then I would go and buy from it again. Basically like eating into an overdraft. You know what that's like, right? Where your whole salary is just dumped into an overdraft and then you pay your rent in an overdraft. You pay your fees in an overdraft. You buy groceries in an overdraft. You ought to be paying for petrol in an overdraft. I was always in some kind of debt. Not only was that Queen's Park account was the basically beginning of the end for me, right? When it comes to credit. I opened a Queen's Park account to create credit for myself. Paid it well every month, but I still used it every month. I never ever finished paying it off, right? So in total, I don't know how much I ended up paying Queen's Park, right? And then the next little credit that I would get for myself would be an overdraft on my Standard Bank account. And that overdraft lasted until I think I got my job at MTN. So it was like a good couple of years into my career. That was when I finally, once and for all, got rid of the overdraft from Standard Bank. The overdraft from Standard Bank, of which was, how much overdraft did they give me? Credit is just ridiculous like that. That checking account that Standard Bank opened for me, the overdraft availability even happened before, like, I was only earning a 3,000 rand stipend at Liberty Life on a learnership, okay? Like an internship type thing. And yet they gave me, I think, also a 3,000 rands or 2,000 rands overdraft. Like, why did you give me an overdraft? I was not even permanently employed. But they gave me an overdraft based on the fact that I was a Liberty Life employee and it was a staff benefit. And you know how Standard Bank and Liberty Life work together. There's a company called StanLib, like a combination of Liberty Life and Standard Bank. That is an investment company. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, so just by mere virtue of being staff there, they were willing to give kids that know nothing about credit and nothing but about debt overdrafts. They gave me a 2,000 rands overdraft, 2 to 3,000 rands overdraft, where I was only getting, coming into that account, 3,000 rands every month. And I used it because, 2 to 3,000 rands, that does nothing. 3,000 rand, that's taxi fare. That's taxi fare. It's just taxi fare. That's it. It's taxi fare, but you need other stuff, right? I need ABC, I need DEF, I need clothes. So I opened a Queen's Park account for the clothes for work because I didn't have a corporate wardrobe. I was just a kid from university. I didn't have a corporate wardrobe, so I opened a Queen's Park account, and I also did not have money to just throw around. So I not only had the Queen's Park account, I also had now the overdraft Yako Standard Bank. And then once I created for myself credit, like good credit, like I was paying these accounts back, I was not defaulting or anything like that. Then it became possible for me to apply for other different kinds of loans. And I started doing that. I not only increased my overdraft at Standard Bank from 2,000 to even more than that. I also started taking out personal loans in order to pay my school fees because I wanted to take myself back to school, and I had an outstanding balance at Wits. And so I took out personal loans to pay that outstanding balance so I could take myself back to school sooner rather than later. I did not want to have to use my little salary to pay off my fees at Wits and then only reapply to re-register at school part-time. I was like, I'm going back to school, I need to get my degree, and so personal loans. And these banks be out here approving them despite the credit, the NC King, National Credit Act, NCA. They approved all these loans, approved them, and I got to a point where I was living inside an overdraft. When I got a car, right? That's the next one that I got, because remember, I was amassing for myself all this credit for the purpose of getting myself a car. So when I would move from one job to the other and get a higher salary, now I was able to afford a car. And I got it also through the staff benefits at Nedbank. And that stayed, by the way. Even after leaving Nedbank, I still had the benefit, the staff subsidy, for car reinstallment. It never lifted, and I was grateful for that, because I was scared that as soon as I leave Nedbank, all of a sudden my car installment is just gonna fly through the roof, but it didn't. It stayed the same. So I had a relatively decent car installment, like 2,800 Rand was what I paid per month for my car, 4 years, and it just, all the way up until I was finished. That's how much I paid for my master too, and now it's fully paid. Okay, anyway, whatever. So 1 second. Anyway, had an interruption. Let's move on. So here it is that I've got all these debts, right, from everywhere, all over the show, amassing. I then got my car installment too, so I was paying for my car, I was still paying for Queen's Park, I was still paying for my overdraft. And then once I got my vehicle, like, Karabo, you've got enough debt, right? You've got enough debt. That's what's good. I've got personal loans, I've got clothing accounts, I've got overdrafts, and I've got my car installment. I then am like, I need to be able to get to work every single day, and I'm struggling to pay for my fuel. I'm struggling to pay for my petrol. Do you understand what I'm saying? I tell myself that I'm struggling to pay for my petrol, and so I get a garage card. I get a petrol card, which is another credit card. It was not a garage or a petrol card, debit, where it is that you put money in there and then you consume out of it. It was a credit petrol card. So it was not my money, and I got it for it was the 3,000 Rands garage card. And this card, it did not cost 3,000 Rands per month for me to use petrol, but I used up that whole 3,000 and then started my car. 250 bucks was what it cost for my full tank back in the good old fashioned days. Still to this day, actually, doesn't cost that much for my car to get to full tank, right? It's a 1.5 active, so it's not a gas guzzler, and I'm grateful for that. But nonetheless, still, I was out here taxing myself voluminously with money that I frankly did not have. Anyway, as the abantu abakstresayo Joe, like I've got a person that lives here that just is the bane of my freaking existence. I can't deal, and it's like I've got so many problems. I don't need that crap in my life. Like I don't need it. That's why I had to leave the car, because I'm dealing with somebody in different. But anyway, whatever. Let's just move past that and continue to talk about this thing. I consumed all that petrol money inside my garage card, and I only put in like 1,000 Rands into it every single month. 1,000 Rands is more than enough to pay off a revolving loan. 3,000 Rands, because they tend to expect to pay it back off something like 200 Rand each month to eventually pay it back off over however long it is that you agreed with the bank, 12 months, 24 months. So I used to put in slightly more than not slightly more, a lot more than what was needed every single month for me to not basically get in bad hairs with the bank. But for me to not get in bad hairs with the bank, it's like there's no young phrase. Like I did not ask for this rubbish. Like, leave me alone. Anyway, whatever. I did not want to get in bad hairs with the bank. I did not have to. I would pay into that account like 1,000 Rands, about 1,000 bucks, knowing that in interest they would take about 100 Rands, and I would then have access to 900 of those Rands. And since my full tank costs about 250 bucks, right, I would have just enough petrol to get me to pretty much the next pay cycle. So each pay cycle, I would pay 1,000 Rands. They would take 50 bucks to 90 bucks, and I would have, as in a revolving credit capacity, about 800 to 900 rands left, and it tended to last me to the end of the month. I could not stand or take in my stride 5-week months, because that meant I would have to ask my mom to help me basically supplement my gas costs, my petrol costs to get to and from work. And I lived like that for years. I never was ever out of the red in my petrol card. I was never out of the red in my overdraft. I was never out of the red and then I had personal loans that I was paying like small little crazy ridiculous amounts, and it was going to take me 10,000 years to finish paying off these personal loans. Do you understand what I'm saying? I had these personal loans that I kept on taking out almost every year, each time to re-register at VITS, because I never had enough of a salary to pay anything cash. And then I had I mentioned my car installment, blah blah. Basically I was always in debt. And when I got saved, when I came to the Lord Jesus Christ, that all changed. It changed. I read in the scriptures that owe no man nothing except love. Oh, no man nothing except love. And like, she keeps doing strange stuff, and I'm like, Angnandaba, you've got your own crappy life, I've got my own crappy life. Let's all just focus on oneself's own crappy lives. It's the thing that I'm talking about right now. Misery loves company, and you miserable miscreants are sitting on my chest because it comforts you that I'm freaking sorrowful. It comforts you that I've got a bad life, and you think that you can just keep on juicing me like some kind of a parasite indefinitely. But this message of mine, today, is to help you understand Uguti. This year eventually comes to a blistering end. Lankudwa. This situation is eventually going to stop. My phone is overheating.